just wondering what it's like sharing a backfield with a high school teammate.
Oh, like I said, it's probably a dream come true. You know what I mean? Come from similar areas, and our crazy stories. Our fathers actually went to high school together, and they were best of friends in high school and still are to this day. So just to know that our fathers had pretty much the same relationship we had, it brings great joy to my heart. And just to see that my brother and I, like on commitment day, they had the same decision, and we signed the paper right after each other. Like it really was a dream come true. I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else.
You got a little bit of playing time last year, but I don't think people really appreciate the kind of learning curve that there is for a B-back in the offense. What are some of the things that you're working on? Some of the things that you kind of have to clean up if you really expect to see the field this season?
One main thing is protecting the brotherhood, like the ball. Like in high school, I didn't really like play option type offense, so it was like when I get the ball, I get the ball. It's not no soft squeeze, no nothing. Just I get the ball. The ball is meant to come to me that play. So that was like my first adjustment. Like really hard for me, like doing a soft squeeze on the ball and everything. And also, like we had multiple formations in this offense. Everything is in like the same formation, kind of. So it's really confusing at times, not knowing like the blocking scheme or not knowing what's going on in that same play. Even though it looks the exact same, but I would say those are the two main things that I have to work on.
Thanks, Anton.
Thank you.
Bill Bergman.
Anton, you had a lot of offers coming out of high school. What made you decide to come to the United States Naval Academy?
The coaching staff really just showing me love. Like when I came here for my official visit on my unofficial visit, it was just like a family environment. They really wanted me to be here. It was like it wasn't like they wanted me and the other person. No, they really wanted me and me only at like for the running back I was in high school and the person I was. So
growing up in Homestead, Florida, how did that shape you into the man and person you are today?
Growing up in Florida is just very hard, but really, Homestead wasn't really where I grew up and where I really learned to play football. It was Florida City, Florida. That's where I played for Florida City Razorbacks as a little kid, offense football. That was where I really learned how to carry football, how to play football, and what it takes to be one of the best in the game at football, because the coaches there are amazing, and the lifestyle there is just crazy to the point where football, it was either football or nothing for me.
And lastly, Coach MacDonald, working with him and the fullbacks room, how has that been going so far?
Great. I mean, Coach MacDonald just showed me nothing but he showed me nothing but you are here to learn and I'm here to help you. Like he's not trying to push me to the side. Like ever since I've got here, he has showed me like you are going to be a part of this offense and we're going to make sure that you're one of the best running this offense. And it's nothing. He has not done anything shy of it since.
Thank you.
Scott Wyckoff.
Hey, Anton, what was it like when you guys went against the ones on defense going live yesterday? What was that like?
Like I said, it was changing. I would say it was. I just know that a lot of things are going on in my head, and I just wanted to just go at it. Like it was just us in the defense, and we wanted to win. Like they are brothers, like we're on the same team. But right then and there, we just wanted to go at each other's neck, like full throttle.
So you guys been waiting several months since really last year to really get a chance to go at that. It looks like when you do that, Coach MacDonald is almost going through that hole right with you.
Yeah, I mean he right there. As soon as the play goes off, they say hey, he's right off my right there with me, like looking if I go right through the same going through the right hole or make sure I make the right reads. He's right there with me. He sees everything.
Now, a bunch of you guys, both in the fullbacks room and in the slot backs room, are 5'8", 5'7". How does that work playing with guys that maybe gone through the same experiences with you, trying to put aside the naysayers and running the style that you guys can do, even though you don't have some of the height that some of the other backs might have?
I mean, personally, height never really played a difference with me. I played up against the best in high school, and my height has never held me. Like I've played like I was 6'5", 6'4". Like nobody can hold me back. You can ask the guys that I play against right now. Like they don't care about my height because I'm still coming. Like my height doesn't play a difference, and I can say the same for me and the other B-backs and slot backs. So.
What is it about this offense that you like to be a fullback in?
Probably B-back does get the ball the most. I would say that, and also when the play hits, because we always trying to get the short yardage all the time, and but when we get those long yards, we get those long runs, it's really it humbles you a lot because you're working so much, and you finally break free. So I really appreciate that. That's one thing that I really like about this offense.
And what is the one thing you really want to focus on to improve on from the spring that you can build on when you get back in the fall?
Probably staying key to my reads and getting past the second level every single run. I would say that's one thing that I personally would want to do. Yeah, and coach always says 4 or more every play. So that's what we focus on in the B-back room.
Thanks a lot, Anton.
Thank you.
Let's go to Emily Van Buskirk, SB Nation.
Hey, Anton, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, and you?
Awesome. First time Navy Zoomer here, but long time fullback fan. I got to ask you what it's like to have a room that's all your own for this position. It's very rare in college football across the country, but you guys have this great brotherhood there. What is that like to have not only your own position coach, but a room full of guys that play that fullback position with you?
I would say you get a lot of different perspectives from the position, and a lot of guys that want to have that starting spot. So a lot of competitive. It's a really competitive environment. I love it.
And with fullbacks, becoming a big thing across the nation, having this big resurgence, especially in the NFL, is there a guy that you watch at the NFL level and try and, model your game after? Do you have a favorite fullback, current or past?
I wouldn't say favorite fullback, but favorite running back would probably be like Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson has always been that guy for me. Yeah.
Obviously, were you recruited as a slot back or a fullback?
I was recruited as a slot back.
When did you get moved?
As soon as I got here.
Oh, immediately?
Yeah, because I went to NAPS last year, so I had time to actually learn how to be an A-back and all that stuff. And then when we left NAPS to come to the academy, they literally told me right off the bat, "Yeah, you're gonna be a B-back. You're not gonna be an A-back no more." So.
Did they mention why that was?
Probably my weight. My weight shot up since high school.
So what are you weighing? Because you're listed at 170.
I'm weighing around 200, 205 now.
All right, that's what I thought. I didn't think you were 170. So what did you learn last year about the position? If I'm correct, you got some game reps, if I recall. Not many, but you got in games, right?
Yes, sir. I would say one main thing I learned last year is be patient. Everything's gonna hit. Everything's gonna come. And with my brothers, James and Isaac, they taught me a lot. I wouldn't have got those reps. So I couldn't have be here in the position I am right now without those guys. So.
And last for me, I mean, what are you working on here in the spring as far as, I know you're atop the depth chart, but it's a battle. Everybody's pretty much at the same level in terms of, experience. What is your goals? What are you trying to work on to improve yourself as a fullback this spring?
Previously, like I said I'm working on securing the ball, securing the brotherhood, and also getting to the second level. And also, I got to work on my blocking as well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna make another trip around. Mike James.
So one of kind of what Wags mentioned is that the group as a whole is, at least weight wise, is a little bit smaller than it had been in years past. Does this kind of represent maybe a change in how the B back is going to be used in the offense that you can tell, or is everything pretty much the same as you've been taught so far?
I would say it's pretty the same. Like the coach is still the same. Like they still teach us to hit it like the same as if you were bigger, if you were smaller, and nothing's really changed with that.
Have early on in the scrimmage situations when you go against good on good against the defense, have you broken some nice runs? I was out there yesterday and I saw a fullback break a nice run. I wasn't able to figure out who it was at the time, but I mean, do you feel like you've gotten some, you're making progress?
I think I'm making progress. I had one or two good runs, but our defense is really good. So when we get those good runs, we get them. So, but it's not just me though. Like we all get good runs.
So first question, the thing that jumps out to you when you look at this group of fullbacks is that they're a little bit smaller than what some people might think is, a typical Navy fullback. Now, a smaller size isn't unusual, but usually it's you have a mix of the bigger battering ram types and the smaller guys. Was that by design, or did it just work out that way?
Probably a little bit of both, Mike. First of all, foremost, man, it's always great to see you. Hope the family's doing well. I love talking with you. I think when you look at it overall and you see kind of what we played with last year and Isaac kind of in that 215 to 220 range and James more like your 225 to 230 range. Certainly the guys we have here in the room now, a little bit more athletic than they are, with the ball in their hands and the stuff we're going to do. And I think at the end of the day, if you had like an ideal, if you had your pick every year, you'd probably want someone looking like Chris Wayne, right? Like the 6'2", 240-pound fullback who had that kind of speed. The reality is those guys are hard to find out there. They're not always available. And so I think we've done an unbelievable job of finding the players that fit our system, fit our scheme, and most importantly, fit our culture and what we're trying to do here at this school and with this football program.
Well, kind of along those lines, if you're talking about doing things with the ball in your hand, a lot of fans would think that, well, you want someone who moves a pile, but really you're looking for someone who can avoid the pile and get around that. How are they coming along so far? Because it's a quick read. There's a lot to learn in that split second between when the ball's snapped and when they're hitting the line. How are they making that adjustment?
Yes, yesterday was our first day of hitting, our first day in pads, and I think it was an eye opener for a lot of them. Just to get the full speed of the offense, especially with what our defense does, and you guys have had plenty of film on Coach Newberry now. He's not just going to sit in one defense and play stationary. He's gonna zip and zap and all over the place. So, I think looking at yesterday's practice, there's a lot of strides that we have to make. We've come a long way in a short amount of time, but we got to keep hammering away and try to get better with every rep that we take. And kind of the deal with us, and you look at the kind of the great ones over the year, they've always been able to find their crease depending on what the defense gives them and what they're going to do. And I think, ultimately that's what's going to make you the best runner in this offense, right? Is like no matter what the defense is going to give you, when the offensive line goes where they're supposed to go and block where they're supposed to block, it's then on you to make that read and to react to it. So long way to go. So, I'm happy we're not playing Delaware tomorrow, but I'm also real happy with where we've come so far in this short amount of time we've had in camp.
Scott Wyckoff.
Coach, when you talk about having a young fullback room, is the advantage to you as a coach to having a group of players that are this skilled, but also that are this young?
Well, the advantage certainly is the competition aspect of it, right? When you look at our room, Anton's probably got a total of 4 reps altogether. I think Mike Maui might have a total of 3 reps altogether. So, there's nobody in our room right now that's the standard. Like if we had to start tomorrow, there's no definitive, like this is the guy who will get 40 snaps, right? And so when you think about it from that standpoint, you love to see the competition aspect of it. You know that each and every, you know, sometimes when you have a room where there's a set guy, as a coach, you have to come up with ways and you have to be creative in ways for guys to compete and have those competitive juices. Right now, there's none of that, right? Because if they're not out there, they're not competing every day, then they're probably in the wrong place. They should probably think about doing something else, right? So I love that aspect of it. I love the teaching aspect of it, where, you know, I think one thing I can say adamantly about James and Isaac is that there weren't many missed assignments on their standpoint and on their part. And, you know, that's a testament to them as students and over the years. And I had 3 years with them and, you know, they really, by the time they were seniors, that was one thing about those two guys, is they were going to give you everything they had on every play, and they were going to be in the right spot when they were supposed to be. And so, you know, from an educator standpoint, from a coach's standpoint, you've got a young group of guys, and it's going to push you, you know, how it's not going to be some of the simple things that you've accustomed to the previous year and really the previous 2 years of guys kind of knowing like the back of their hand. These guys they're young, they're wet behind the ears, and they constantly have to be reminded, they constantly have to be quizzed on it. And I constantly have to check for understanding from their standpoint to make sure that they know what they're supposed to do so they can go out there and play fast.
It seems like the dynamic they also bring is the speed to potentially get to that next level on runs. The success you've had in recent years, it seems like that's been the key. Taking care of assignments, yes, but getting to that next level with your fullbacks.
There's absolutely no doubt, Scott. And I think, you know, whatever, you know, you'd say like, you got to be careful, right? If you start saying things like, I'm only going to recruit guys that are 225 pounds and above in high school. Well, when you talk about the type of athleticism that we want, guys who are 6'1" and 225 pounds and above who have the type of athleticism that we want are probably guys that are being heavily touted by the SEC and the ACC and things like that. And so I think, you know, it's Coach Jasper a long time ago told me this, and it's I kind of think about this in the back of my head. When you think about a B back and his skill set, to simplify it, you say just a bigger A back and a guy who's not afraid of contact, right? There's going to be a lot of times throughout the season where they might get the football and they might not get the football. And no matter what anybody looks like in shorts or in helmets, it's a whole different ball game when you're strapped up from head to toe. And so there's one thing you can't hide from. And I've seen plenty of guys over the years who are 230 pounds. And I see plenty of guys over the years at 200 pounds who love that part of it. And I've seen some other guys who don't. And you find out pretty quickly when you start flying around and the pads start smacking, you find out pretty quickly who's okay with it. And some guys who really actually want, like, dare the defense to tackle them. And that's what I think the runner that we're always looking for, no matter what his weight is we want that guy that runs angry, who's going to dare the defense, the linebacker or the 4-eye to come down and hit him. Those are the guys I love to coach.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Phil Bergman.
Coach, could you just walk us through the 3 deep quickly of Anton Hall, Logan Point, and Mike Malai?
Yeah, I think, you know, and honestly, to tell you the truth, Phil, it's really more open than that. You know, I think all those guys they're coming to work every day. They're doing great reps, but another name you got to throw in there too is Daba Fofana. You know, he's really impressed me in these first 5 practices that we've had. His content knowledge, the way he gets to the hole. But you know, if you start with Anton, I think Anton's going to be a little bit more dynamic. He's got this big play ability, very shifty. You know, in our one-on-one drills with the defense early on in the fall camp of 2021. He showed that ability and got him moved up fast. And in space, he's going to be dangerous. Logan Point's a little bit of a bigger back, and he's more of kind of a north cut type guy that I would call 1 foot in the ground and go now and make one move and go. And both those guys, both of them possess the ability to go to that next level that Scott was talking about. Then you got Mike, you know, and Mike was started here as an A back and now he's moved over to B back. And I think Mike probably has the best understanding of the offense as a whole and how it works, because certainly when you're in Coach DePay's room, you got to know the perimeter, you got to know the motions, you got to know, you know, your count and all those things. And then in our room, we focus more on the box. And now Mike's gotten both aspects of that. I'd say he probably overall has the best understanding of it. And like I said, you know, the young guys that are working, Daba Fofana, man, he's coming to work every day and he's really been impressive as well. And Skylick Towns in that mix. And hopefully Thomas Marshall can get back with us soon as well with Chris Smith and Brandon Madison.
technique is so important in the triple option, especially for the fullback. What's really impressed you about this group with their hand placement and foot placement just when going through every play?
They have the things that I can't coach, as Coach Niemot brings it up all the time, there weren't any cone drills that we were doing with Malcolm Perry back in 2019. That was some God-given stuff, right? So these guys have that ability, and I'm going to continuously, push them through what they got to be pushed through, and we're going to make them strain their bodies. But, the agility that these guys possess, and their vision, and their quickness, all that stuff that I cannot coach, all that stuff that they came here with and they already had in their skill set and their toolbox, man. That's the stuff that I'm really impressed with so far. I'm looking forward to see that progress throughout the understanding of this offense.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bill Wagner.
So maybe a little more of well, let me ask you this first. Based on the fact that none of these fullbacks played very much, I mean, two guys got all the meaningful reps. How did you build a depth chart going into the spring season?
Just best I could, Bill. Sometimes you just got to trust your eyes and see what you have. And Anton did get in some. So let's put it like this, right? So Anton's first rep in a college football game, he ran an inside zone, or a zone dive to Cincinnati, who ran a stunt at him. I mean, there isn't anything I can do in practice that going against the number 2 team in the country in a meaningful rep. I mean, that game was close the whole time, and they throw a linebacker stunt at you, man. That's about as hot fire as you can get. And so, to see him and how he reacted and how he played, and honestly, the thing about it is there was a play against Tulsa, again, a design run towards Anton, where we just had we bobbled the snap, and thankfully we held on to the football. But if that handoff happens with what we were doing with the motions and how their backers and back end played it out, there's a very good chance Anton takes that thing for a long way, maybe even scores on that. So, I think for any coach, there's certainly a challenge when you don't have a lot of game film on anybody, is just come up with some sort of a depth chart. But what I'll tell you is it's still open, and there a lot of guys are taking a lot of meaningful reps in camp right now, and it's going to continue to be like that for the rest of camp, and moving into the fall camp as well.
So what do you feel like Anton brings to the table? I mean, has he got the home run ability that a Jamal Carruthers brought? How would you describe his running style?
He's dynamic. He's shifty, and he's a young man that plays with a lot of passion. Jamal Carruthers was certainly, probably one of the best we've ever had at that position as far as that big playability. When you think about, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we were the most explosive offense by far in 2019, and it wasn't even close.
Right.
And Jamal Carruthers was certainly a big part of that. You think back to that Houston game, and he had a 75-yard touchdown run, and and a lot more than that as well. And so, is he going to be Jamal? Time will tell. Jamal when you talk about having that home run ability, I don't think we've had many, if any, like him. And so, but big playability certainly there. And 50 yards, I think so. 60 yards, I think so. 70 yards, you're talking about a really small percentage at that point. So, we're really excited to see what Anton's going to do when the season comes around. And I know this, he's going to give you everything he's got. And the young man plays with a lot of passion. I don't have to get him motivated to do anything. He's ready to go at all times.
What about Logan Point? Maybe a little scouting report on him and his running style?
Yeah. So Logan's a little bit of a thicker kid, a little bit of a bigger kid, where, I think Logan right now is like 213 pounds. He bounces back and forth between that. And what I think you'll see with Logan is, probably a little bit less of the open field make you miss, but more of in the box, where we live. He's going to put his foot in the ground and go now. And he's more of that one north cut type back, and runs behind his pads well. And, Logan's twitchy as well. And he's already had a couple long runs this spring, as well as Anton, as well as Daba. So, I think we've got a number of guys in that backfield that kind of have that big playability when it's there.
And you talked about Isaac and James being reliable and, veterans consistent. Obviously, a big part of being a fullback in the Navy offense is blocking. You miss a blocking assignment as a fullback and somebody can get blown up.
how are they coming along on that front? Because that's, that's the hard part.
Yeah, when you go back and you look at that Army game, some of the blocks that James Harris laid down on some of the biggest plays in the game, man. I mean, we don't win that game without those blocks. And, I just can't say enough, Bill, and you hit the nail on the head. I mean, James Harris, certainly in my time, and I think over watching it here, maybe Noah Copeland, the only other guy who kind of fit a lot of the zone stuff like James Harris did. But certainly I'd say physically, James Harris, you go back and you watch that first drive against Memphis this year. I don't know if we've had a more physical blocker at the fullback position than James Harris. So that's definitely going to be missed. And these guys are they're gonna be good blockers, right? That's certainly a huge part of it. We can't do the things we do in this offense without that part of it. I have not seen yet anybody that has that just seek and destroy mentality that James had. But again, yesterday was only our first day in pads, and certainly there's going to be some things that we do in a football game that we're probably not going to do against our defense, just because it just is what it is. And you're going against each other and stuff like that. So, but I tell you what, man, none of those guys are afraid of contact. That much I know.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Emily.
Hi, Coach. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. I wanted to ask you, you were talking about competition in this position room, and that's something that Anton actually said that he enjoys the most about the fullback position group. But with a position like this and the mentality that they possess, how do you keep it from being overly competitive? Because you talked about, competition being a motivator, which is great, but, fullbacks are a little different.
Yeah, I guess I haven't thought too much about anything. There's been nothing so far that's where the competition has been misguided. And if I understand your question correctly, I think what you're saying is that, if there's potentially some backstabbing or potentially guys aren't, but the over competition part of it, I don't think I haven't encountered that yet. In fact, like I would say, this team in general, from what I've seen to this standpoint, is within the whistles, within the confines of the game, the way the game is supposed to be played. This is a highly competitive football team on both sides of the ball, and that part of it has been really fun to watch. And it's been really exciting as a coach, because those are the things that you hope you never have to coach, right? And if you have to coach the competition side of it, if you have to coach the motivation side of it, if you have to do all those things, the team's only going to get so far, and so this is definitely, to what I've seen so far, this is a player-led team, and my room is a highly competitive room, but also a room that's really supportive of each other as well. So I wouldn't want it any other way.
You talk about guys coming in and having young players, and Anton, one of the things he said is, he wasn't a fullback prior, he came in and he became a fullback, and that's true of the position and how it's made in general, especially in college. What do you look for in a player from the mental side? So I know you talked a lot about the physical attributes, the speed and the blocking and the quickness. What do you look for in the person himself that makes a good fullback?
Yeah, I think, it's a great question, Emily, and kind of what I'm going through right now is, we're well into the 2023 recruiting cycle, and you're asked to evaluate a young man off film, and especially at this point in our cycle where coaches have not been able to get on the road and meet anybody. So the only current juniors and high school football players that I've been able to talk to in person are the guys who have come to, on campus, and I've seen. And so I think there's a few things that I look for on a film, and hopefully it transfers over, and I'm evaluating the right way. But I'll tell you what, one thing that I'm watching when I watch film and I'm evaluating film, and one thing is to describe mental toughness and really just overall physical toughness. Like if I see a player, turn down contact and run out of bounds, or wince up when contact's coming, I don't care how fast anybody is. I don't care, how dynamic of a runner they are. If they're constantly turning down contact or stepping out of bounds on film, that's probably somebody that we're not going to spend too much time with, because they're never going to be able to run through the mesh here, and clear the mesh for the quarterback the way they're supposed to. Mentally, from a standpoint, and you try to do your best, and when you talk to guys and just get a sense of who they are, do they love to compete, and certainly when they're here, like if I have to beg a guy to get a rep, if I have to, grab somebody off the sideline and tell them to get a rep, that's a bad sign, right? Like I like my guys should be like who's the next up, like they'd be firing in the huddle trying to get in there to get the next rep, and I give them guidance on which quarterbacks they should be taking those reps with, but outside of that, it's from if I'm having to drag anybody over to take a rep, then that's a really bad sign for me. So mentally, you just look for somebody who's always wanting to compete, and we talked about this today in our room. It's like when you run the football, you should be running the football with the mentality of like, I'm daring this guy to come tackle me. Like, if you're going to tackle me, like this is going to hurt you to come tackle me now. So, those are the kind of things that we look for. And, from that aspect, Emily, we do our best to get that right. And I tell you right now that there's a number of guys in that room that I think we've hit home runs with.
With all the fullbacks that you have in the NFL now to show these young guys what the game looks like at the next level, is there a fullback or two in particular that you show film to your guys of in the NFL currently?
There's not. Our time is so short and so limited as it is. If I want to show guys how to block in this offense, if I want to show guys like how to be nasty in this offense, I'll throw on film of James Harris and we'll watch what he does. And I'm forgetting the gentleman's name, but the fullback up there at New England, he's certainly somebody. And the guy that we have at the Ravens too, the gentleman who played up at Maine, the University of Maine, I'm forgetting his name right now too. Both those guys would certainly be dudes that we could throw film on and watch the proper way to block at the second and the third level. Certainly though they're not touching the football very much, I think they understand their job description, but either one of those guys would be great examples of players to watch on how to block. But if I felt like I needed to drive a point home on how we block in this offense, I would throw on clips of 3-7 from last year.
Thank you.
All right, we'll make it one more trip around. Mike James.
So the fullbacks are young, but you have some returning experience, a quarterback between Ty and Masai as a senior. Are there things that a veteran quarterback can do to help along a young group of fullbacks?
Yes, first and foremost, get us in the right play, and I think Ty's done an excellent job of that so far this camp. I think that's probably the biggest thing that the quarterback can do for not only the fullbacks, but the whole team. And, I think number one's has greatly stepped up his game in that aspect, and from what we've seen in the first 5 practices. But just when you think about a quarterback on any team at any level, you think about the guy, right? The leader, always calms everybody down, but also brings them up. And if the quarterback's cool, calm, and collective, then the offensive line can go out and be the nasty guys they need to be, and the running backs can go be who they need to be, and all that builds off that. And I think number one's done a great job of that this camp so far. And you can tell that it's Masai's third year in that room. You can see the leaps and bounds, from where he's been his freshman year to now. So both those things, Mike, I think have been huge for our young fullbacks so far.
When you look at, Anton was talking about how it's different coming from a single back system to being a B back, just even things like taking a handoff, having to cradle the balls because you don't know that you're going to get it, as opposed to, taking it from the quarterback. What are some of the things that guys have to unlearn when they're adjusting to the position?
Unlearn, I think probably the number one thing is probably just getting into a 3-point stance to start with, and you think about most quarterbacks now in high school are taking shotgun snaps, and they come here and they have to get under center. And most running backs in high school now are in a 2-point stance, and they come here and have to get in a 3-point stance. So the unlearned stuff, I think probably, if anything, where patience really helps you out in a true inside zone offense. Like, if you're patient around here, you're going to be staying on the sideline next to me pretty quickly. It's not going to be good for anybody, and you're going to get smacked, and you're going to be standing right next to me on the sideline. So I think that, if anything, Mike, they have to probably quickly figure out a way where they're making their reads full speed, whereas opposed in high school, I think a lot of times they're allowing the holes to develop in a zone scheme and then hitting it. So that's probably your biggest difference between high school and then coming here.
With guys that are quick to the hole, do you adjust how far behind the quarterback you'll line them up?
I hope not. I hope I don't have to start telling slower guys to move up and faster guys to move back. They should, if you have to play those games too many times, you know, then I think you're probably recruiting too wide of a gap, and you're probably also giving away some tendencies as well. So you know, I think I have coached this game at certain levels where that has been a must, you know, because of the gap in ability, but you know, here where we have the resources we have, and we're able to recruit the way that we recruit, that I better be bringing in guys that should be able to do the same thing from all the same depth.
Thanks, Jason.
Yes, sir.
Bill Wagner.
So as you finish out, you know, you said you just started hitting yesterday. You got a lot more padded practices where you're going to have contact. What do you still want to see out of these guys? What are the key coaching points? What, you know, I know reps are the best teacher, but you got anything in particular that you feel has got to be honed in on?
Without a doubt, Bill. I want to, with having such a young group, I really want to see the guys, and master's probably the wrong word, but I want to see the guys who are going to continuously push themselves in that read, you know, in that crease area. And if you have a fullback, and if you have a fullback in this offense that can fit the crease the right way, man, the defense can't be right. You know, as long as, you know, and if they're going to move around like that, they can't be right. And as long as we're getting movement on them on the offensive line, they can't be right. So that's the number one thing I'm looking for from a skill set standpoint, and always what I'm looking for just from a mentality standpoint is who's going to want to compete, and who really goes out there and enjoys the contact aspect of it.
So what would you say to Navy fans? Because as soon as the Navy depth chart was issued prior to spring camp, I got a couple emails. Can you tell Coach Niamat that you can't win at Navy with a 170-pound fullback, which obviously we know he's not 170 pounds anymore. But, you know, and then I got another email from someone very concerned about the fullbacks. None of those guys have played. So how do you reassure a Navy fan that Navy fullbacks, because it's a very, very critical position in this offense?
I would tell a Navy football fan they probably shouldn't email anybody to anything about the winningest coach in the history of the Naval Academy football program about how to win football games. That's what I would say.
I got you. Well, but you feel good that the fullbacks will be ready to perform?
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Emily.
Coach.
Hey, Coach. Sorry, I'm still talking about that. I wanted to ask you one quick question. I've been talking to a lot of AAC head coaches about, you know, environments and the conference itself and who's tough to play. And Navy football is literally always the team that comes up as a team they don't want to face. You know, obviously that is in large part to the offense. It's very hard to prepare for. Being a big part of that is, you know, the fullback room. What does that mean to be a big part of something that people don't want to face?
You know, it's, if you think about it, like, you know, we go against the line, you know, I just, you got to have so much pride in what you do every day. And we talk about it. We start off every meeting, you know, with a Kool-Aid, and we talk about, you know, stuff outside of football. And these guys go through so much here in this program, and they go through so much here in this school. And, you know, I don't shy away from it. When you know, when we go to play these other schools, I just tell them straight up, guys, these guys have been playing video games all day long, and they've been, you know, they've had 4 hours of meetings with their coaches. You know, they've got lift and all this other stuff, and, you know, they're taking classes from their room online. They have it easier than you, but you have to relish in that, and you know, you have to excel in that, and it's a point of pride when we go and play these other teams.